Yeah, let's read the next paragraph. In fact, the world is falling apart around me. Transcendental knowledge regarding the soul and the supersoul includes knowledge of the phenomenal world. What is this world? And the basis of its creation. In the phenomenal world, that means the manifest world, the world of real things, three things are factually observed by any intelligent man: the living beings, the manifest world, and the ultimate control over them. The intelligent man can see that neither the living entity nor the phenomenal world are creations of chance. The symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions suggests the plan of an intelligent brain behind them. And by genuine inquiry, one may find out the ultimate cause with the help of one who knows them factually. This story of chance being the cause of things is very strange and very pervasive. I know that I just assumed that chance was an explanation of things until not that long ago, when Sadhaputta Prabhu disabused me of the idea. I thought there was such a thing as laws of chance that made things happen. And he kindly explained to me that that's not how it works. Chance is also known when you get down into mathematics. Chance is known as probability. That's what chance is. It's the probability that something will happen. Just like if you have, and the probabilities extend from 0 to 1. 0 is impossible, it will never happen. And 1 is it will always happen. And then you have in between. So you have a coin, chances are 50% heads, 50% tails, assuming the coin is a fair coin that is not doctored. So there's a 50-50 chance that it'll come up either way. But anytime you toss a coin, the way it comes up is not because there was a 50% chance that it could happen that way. Chance doesn't cause anything, it describes what happens. Or it describes the likelihood. That's another name, that's a common word for probability. Likelihood. How likely is it? But likelihood doesn't make things happen. My favorite example lately is divorce. And if I were in a room with people who could all raise their hands and be seen, I'd ask, how many of you have ever been divorced or know someone who's been divorced? And pretty much the whole room would raise their hands. Everybody knows someone these days who's been divorced. When I was a kid, I knew exactly one person who'd been divorced, but now it's a common affair because half the couples that marry later divorce. That means the divorce rate is 50%. 50-50 chance that when someone gets married, they'll get divorced. Now, we all know someone who's been divorced. In how many cases would you say that the reason that they got divorced was that there was a 50% chance that they could get divorced? Do you know any couples who got divorced out of obedience to some statistical imperative? Or did they get divorced because he was a creep, she was a bitch, that they couldn't get on with one another, this, that, or the other thing, or someone got attracted to someone else. And there are all sorts of reasons. When people get divorced, they get divorced for a reason. It may be a good reason or a bad reason. That's another story. It may be a legitimate reason or illegitimate reason. I don't know that there are legitimate reasons, but anyway, there's some reason. It's not because chance made me get divorced. The laws of chance forced me to get divorced, or I simply was obedient to the laws of chance. That's wild. Or let's take another example. Let's say that you look on your weather app and it tells you that there's an 80% chance of rain today. And then indeed it rains. Now, would you say that the reason it rained is because there was an 80% chance that it would rain? That the probability of 80% is what made the rain fall? These probabilities are just descriptions. They're descriptions. And you get into, okay, Bayesian theory, they're informed descriptions and so on, but they're descriptions of the way things happen. They're not causes at all. Chance makes nothing happen. And therefore, to say that the world came about by chance is to say nothing informative. It's just to say, well, we don't know. But it's not an explanation. It's like saying, why did he stab, why did he rob the bank? By chance. Why did he go to Harvard? By chance. Nothing's by chance. There's reasons. Even you say, how did he get the coronavirus? By chance. It wasn't by chance. There's a reason. They were in a crowd and people weren't wearing masks, and the virus was transmitted from one person to another person. There are reasons. Not that because 1 out of 6 people are getting the coronavirus and 5 people had already gotten it, so he had to get it to keep the statistical curve intact. There are reasons. So this point is crucial for understanding these chapters and understanding the process of creation, that things happen for reasons. What does Prabhupada say at the beginning? That their explanation is right. The inquiries by Narada Muni on the basis of factual cause and effect appear very reasonable. That's reasonable. That he knows. He knows that the cosmic creation must have had a cause. That it's not exempt from this principle of cause and effect that rules the whole material world. He wants to know what that cause is. So it's a reasonable question. And to dismiss it that, well, by chance, is unreasonable. Or to dismiss anything as simply being by chance. By chance just means we don't know. It's an excuse, not an explanation. Okay, we have a question from Vijay Krishna. We've talked about, I quoted Bhagavad Gita, that the demons say the world is unreal, no foundation, no God in control. It's produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. My question is that is it that the intelligence of a lustful individual is more or less at the level of animal intelligence? What is the connection between lust and animal life? I assume you mean, there's also a question from Punctuated Chapter. Now that I've scrolled down. Okay, I'll come back to that. I assume you mean in context, what is this, what does this mean? that kama hoy to come, the world has no cause other than lust. It would be interesting, actually, to see what the acharyas have commented on that. Previous acharyas have commented about that verse. And we might even look and see. No, I don't want that, actually. I don't think I'll be able to find it right away. But Prabhupada comments on kama hoy to come as being at the molecular level. You know, the scientists say that everything is the push and pull of atoms and all of that. So that's how he's explained kama hoy to come. It's a kind of attraction, the law of attraction. There's an attraction between the atomic particles. Let's see if I find something else about this. Hold on. Let's see what we get. Give me one moment. Okay. 16th chapter. And what verse is that? The 16:8. Well, here's what Baladev Vijayabhushan says about this. The Lord then describes the theory of the Lokayatas. Well, no, let's see. He describes the theory of Swabhava, or inherent nature, advocated by the Buddhists. The world does not arise from the intercourse between man and woman, aparaspara sambhutam, in the manner of a potter producing a pot with intention, since the parents beget a child without even knowing how it is being done. Children sometimes are born as a result of men and women uniting only once, and scorpions appear from sweat spontaneously without interaction of male and female. Thus, creation takes place spontaneously by its own nature, by nature's inherent property. So there's that's a different way than the way we've got it in Bhagavad Gita as it is. Here, it's the Buddhists who are saying aparaspara sambhutam. The paraspara means mutual. Aparaspara sambhutam. It doesn't come from mutual intention, just happens. Just happens. That's creation just takes place spontaneously by its own nature. by nature's inherent properties. So Krishna's saying, no, that's not the fact. The Lord then describes the theory of the Lokayatas, that's Charvak Muni. According to them, the world has no purpose other than satisfying one's lust. So that's Kim Anyat Kama Hoitukam. Nothing else should be said. The lust between men and women alone is the cause of the world, being the motive for all actions, right? The cause, what was the cause of robbing the bank? Well, we wanted the money. So the desire becomes the cause. So the men and women wanted to satisfy their lust, and that's the cause of the world. And that's what the world is here for. It's the motive for all actions. The word hoitukam, being from hetu, using the affix tan, has the same meaning, cause. Or another interpretation of the phrase kama hoitukam can be, the Jainas say that the cause is whatever one wants it to be. Whatever a person can imagine according to his reasoning power, he will say, that is the cause of the world. So all these different theories are there about the source of the world. The world is here because of our desire for it to be here, and its purpose is just lust and the satisfaction of lust. Or the world has no purpose; it's just here. Its nature is to spontaneously spring into existence. But in all these cases, we're sort of knocking out, well, we're certainly knocking out any supreme controller, Jagadahu or Anishwaram, because we don't want a supreme controller in the picture. When the cat's away, the rats will play. So the rats want to play, and they want to imagine there's no God here. So they want to get rid of, ultimately, the cause of all causes. And therefore, when we talk about the cause of the cosmos, suddenly cause and effect disappear, right? We're very serious about cause and effect when it comes to tracing viruses or tracing atomic reactions or tracing wars or whatever. But when it comes to the source of everything, suddenly cause and effect just drop out because we know where it's going. As soon as we ascribe a cause to the world, we're going to see it has to be an intelligent cause, and Prabhupada gives that argument. There's symmetry, there's regularity. If you see, just some boards and sticks thrown together, you say, yeah. But when you see that everything's like symmetrical, there's windows evenly placed, and there's steps, and there's walls that are parallel, and so on. You say, well, that didn't just pop into place. There was intelligence there. So that's what's going on there. I'm going to come back to Panchatattva Prabhu, but there's Samarpana has advanced this discussion. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur similarly says in the comment on this verse, the cause of the world is simply a speculation of one's whim. That's what the demons say. By logic, whatever different persons speak about atoms, Maya or God, they talk of that as the cause. So the cause is just whatever you want it to be. That's the cause. If it works for you, we hear that among people that, well, whatever you think. It's like a cop-out. Prabhupada mentioned that some verses back, that yatomat tatapat, they say, everybody's got their own path, and then they all compromise and say, yeah, whatever path you take, it's also good. I love you too, Swamiji. Whatever you say is good, and you should return the favor and say that whatever I do is good. So whatever you think is real, that's reality for you. But it doesn't mean it's reality for me. So that's really dumb. well, if you believe in death, then it's true for you. Come on. You believe in it or not, it's there. The cause is just according to the desire of those who propound theories about it. This, again, Vishwanath is reporting some of their ideas. So these are some of the theories, and Prabhupada's talking about that. Am I right? That these different theories that people come up with. And he'll say it's not theory, it's a question of tattvata, factual knowledge. It's not just theory. Let's see. Over here. Yeah. Okay. Anything on this before we return to Panchatattva Prabhu's question?
Maharaj?
Sir?
Maharaj, if I may, my obeisances. Sometimes I see a cat or a dog evacuating in the middle of a street with traffic on both sides, and on the sidewalks, people passing by and looking at them. So my question is it that in the mind of a cat or of a dog who behaves like this, the concepts of cause and effect exist?
That what?
I'm asking you if in the mind of a cat or in the mind of a dog who evacuates in the middle of a street without caring for people looking at them, is it that in the mind of cats and dogs who behave like this, the concepts of cause and effect exist?
Well, okay, first of all, let's get our facts straight. I think the cats are actually quite shy and modest. You don't usually see cats evacuating in the streets. It's the dogs who are quite.
Yes, more of the dogs, yes.
So not that affects the question, but in fairness to the cats, I thought we should mention that. I don't imagine that the cats and dogs, even the cats and dogs have some sense of cause and effect. They have intelligence. The dog knows that if I do this, I'm going to get punished. If I do this, I'll get rewarded. That's cause and effect. Even the animals have a sense of cause and effect, certainly. They may not be sophisticated, they may not write books about cause and effect and philosophy, but even a cat or a dog knows that the world runs under cause and effect. They have, what would you say, practical knowledge. If I eat this, I'll feel happy. If I don't, if I wag my tail and bark, then my master will feed me. So let me do it. So this cause will bring about that effect. It's just very strange that when we, everything's run by cause and effect until we get to the very beginning of things, and then it's just like, boom, things happen. And why do they happen? Because of chance, which is just a bluff, because chance, as we discussed, doesn't make anything happen. It's descriptive, it's not causative. And Panchatattva's comment is relevant to this. I really like the expression self-made theories without any touch of cause and effect. It captures in a few words the view of the atheists, that the universe is tumbling along, either would be good, but it's tumbling along without any source or guidance, even though there are systems being displayed at every level, sophisticated systems that are baffling in their complexity. Yeah, that's, and really it's just a stubborn unwillingness to acknowledge the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They really don't want that. They really don't want that. And Prabhupada quoted in this regard a Bengali proverb. If there are any Bengalis, you could help me out here, but it's as close as I can get. Shakuni Shapa Goru Morena. The vulture is cursing the cow to die. Prabhupada explained that the vulture lives by pouncing on some dead carcass and tearing it apart and so on. So you see the vultures circling around. They're hoping to find some animal will die so that they'll get the carcass and have their lunch. So the vulture is hungry, and for some days he's not getting food, but he sees there's a cow below, and so he's cursing the cow, die. But does it mean that because the vulture is cursing the cow has to die? So these atheists are bad-mouthing God and trying to dismiss God and rid us of the superstitious notion that there's a God in control. But it's not that in obedience to the desires of the atheists, God has to disappear or whatever, and be substituted, be replaced with a theory that the world just pops into existence for no reason. So here Narad Muni is reasonable. What is the cause? This is intelligent. There must be some cause. Okay, anything else?
Okay. Maharaj?
Well, let me hold on a second. Panchatattva's come in. A conscious, infinitely powerful being situated as the ultimate cause means that we are practically infinitely subordinate. Very uncomfortable admission for someone who thinks they're the controller. Yes, indeed. Yes, Vijay Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj. At the very end of the purport, I find the symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions suggests the plan of an intelligent brain behind them. And by genuine inquiry, one may find out the ultimate cause with the help of one who knows them factually. My question is related to this last part of the sentence, with the help of one who knows them factually. So my question is, Maharaj, is it that this help of one who knows them factually is indispensable, or can I do it alone?
Well, alone you can at least come to the intuitive understanding that there must be someone controlling this. That much you can do just by good sense, really. Just by good sense and good fortune. There must be someone who's doing this. It can't just be by accident. That much you can understand. But how it's happening, like these questions that Narad's asking, who's making them happen? What's in the background? What are all the, as Prabhupada sometimes says, facts and figures? What are the signs of its manifestation? What's the background? Where ultimately is it coming from? How is it created? We're going to find quite a sophisticated explanation of how the world was created. It's not just let there be light, but we're going to find a systematic description, which the mental speculator would not come up with. And he certainly wouldn't come up with, well, you see, there's this little blue boy who's playing with cows in this place called Vrindavan, and he expands himself as Balaram, and Balaram expands as the Purush avatars. He's not going to understand that by mental speculation. So many things. You're intelligent. You can understand. If you've never met your great-grandfather, you must have had one. That's just common sense. You have your father, he had his father, and so on. So you must have had a great-grandfather. But you're not going to know much about your great-grandfather just by speculating. Well, he must have been like this, he must have been like that. But if you hear from your father or your grandfather, then you can know my great-grandfather was like this, and he was in business, and he was this, or he was that. You can know so many things if you hear. But just by mental speculation, no, you won't understand.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I just had one comment that came
Yes.
to mind in this discussion. The German scientist by the name of Werner Heisenberg, and he had a very nice statement he made that the first gulp from the glass of the natural sciences will turn you into an atheist. But at the bottom of the glass, God is waiting for you. You know, and I find myself also having kind of gone through that journey. You know, when I learned about, it was 8th grade, and I learned about evolution, and oh wow, it makes so much sense now. Now I can do away with all this silly God nonsense that my grandmother is trying to tell me, you know, and I was actually preaching atheism for a while because, hey, I've learned science now. And so it's that first sip of, hey, I know so much and I can explain everything without the presence of this fairy tale thing called God, that, you know, folk people in Indian villages churn up. But then, you know, as we study closer and closer, there can't possibly be no God. You know, even if you look at the way the heart beats, and just recently I read that when the heart beats, it's not just the pressure of the heart that's propelling the blood. There's no way a little pump that size can propel blood all the way into the little capillaries and the different extremities of the body. The corpuscles actually have their own vortexes that they generate when they move through, and it's so much more sophisticated than just, you know, simple basic fluid mechanics. It's a lot more than that. Just the dynamics of how the blood moves, and you open the cells, and there's no way, even within a cell, it's like a city of dynamics with little subcellular particles that are talking to each other, and there's all sorts of messenger RNA going on. It's incredible, and all just to keep our bodies moving, you know, to satisfy our little silly desires, you know, eko bahunam yuvidadati kama. It's incredible, and it's just, that's why I think I really like Panchatattva Prabhu's last statement that, you know, we feel we are infinitely subordinate. Every little thing that we do is, you know, it's overwhelmingly subordinate, and we can't handle it. And so we're given this pretend world where we can pretend that we're not. And it's kind of hilarious. But I just thought I'll share that. Thank you, Panchatattva Prabhu, just
Put the quote up there.
shared that phrase. Thank you, Prabhu.
The two thoughts came to mind, one about Akandadi Prabhu, and the other was about, now what was it? It was the first thing I was thinking about the cells. I was looking at a book recently by a scientist who happened to be a Christian, and he was explaining that historically it seemed very simple, that, you know, the cells did this and the cells did that, and they were just like these little bubbly things, you know, and so much could be explained with reference to the cells. You didn't have to take much into account. But as you say, they're like little cities. As our scientific knowledge has advanced, we find that there's so much complexity. Sadhaputta wrote a paper along with one Dr. Goel, with whom he often collaborated, describing mathematically the E. coli bacterium, which is your standard one-celled creature studied by science. And the upshot of their description, basically, how do you take whatever's in there and reduce it to mathematical descriptors, which are more precise, of course, and which quantifiable and so on. How do you reduce it down basically to a mathematical description of these cells? And the upshot of it was that it's hugely complex. The amount of information, numbers are basically information. The amount of information that's in that little cell is enormous. So how do you explain that by by a reference to a simple pop into existence kind of model? The other thing that came to mind, because you were talking, well, let's read this quote from Heisenberg, Werner Heisenberg, a big modern scientist. According to an old phrase, the first sip from the cup of knowledge separates us from God, but at the bottom of the cup, God is waiting for the one who seeks him. If so, there is a way of thinking that leads to religious truths, and to seek only that way is rewarding. Quite good. The other thought that came to my mind, this is from the seminars that Akanditi Prabhu has been giving on Thursdays on the Atma paradigm. And I've given the URL for that previously. But you can find it on Facebook or on YouTube, Atma Paradigm. And it's broadcast, I think, at 2 o'clock on these days, Eastern time, on Thursdays. So one of the points that he's made is that science does okay in its own domain, but the scientists have, thank you for that, Madan Gopal, the URL for the Atma paradigm. The scientists have gone way out of their domain. They've under the cover, as it were, of science, they've ventured out into metaphysics. And so they're like covertly, practically, importing into science curricula their own metaphysical views, which are completely out of the realm of, by definition, out of the realm of science. These are not things that are observable and quantifiable and reproducible and so on. It's just our speculations, our preferred explanations of how things happen, where things come from. But they're metaphysical. They're not, by definition, they're not within the realm of empiric investigation. So it's a kind of cheating, really, that they're trying to import their atheistic worldviews into, and successfully importing them into science curricula, so that even a pious young man like Madan Gopal at first becomes influenced and thinks, oh yeah. But fortunately, he got it right. Anything else here?
Leelakar Prabhu had a question, I believe. Leelakar Prabhu, if you'd like to, I think you either a question or comment. I think you had a hand up.
Yeah, well, Maharaj,
Leelakar Prabhu, happy birthday. It was his birthday yesterday. Haribol.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. One more closer to one day more closer to death. But thank you. I completely appreciate it. Yeah, I was sort of things came in my mind when I was speaking about this, and we can put this as a straight question. Maharaj, would Srila Prabhupada? It seems like the argument that the atheists are coming up with, it seems like it's becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. So if there's a chance, like the Mayavad philosophy, Srila Prabhupada Lord Chaitanya forbidden us to be exposed to Mayavad philosophy for specific reasons, could that also be pertained to the atheistic argument as well, that even though so many years practicing bhakti yoga, one can become bewildered by the evolving atheistic arguments?
Yeah, there are 2 points I'd like to deal with. The first is to answer your question, and then the second is to address something implicit in what you said. To answer your question, bad association can mess us up. When we associate with atheists, when we associate with hardcore empiricists, when we associate with Mayavadis, with Buddhists, with Shankarites, with you name it, we can be affected. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, or Prabhupada advised, one should not associate extensively with non-devotees. The whole academic worldview, wants to reduce everything down to an empiric approach to things. So yes, one can, and we've seen devotees go to university with the idea that they're going to pick up something for preaching, and they wind up we never see them again. That's happened. So what happened? They got influenced by this very sophisticated, well-funded alternative world, and missed what's wrong with the picture. So yes, one may be affected by them, and therefore Prabhupada's bashing them because they're really the leading competing worldview, Mayavad and mundane science. These are both leading, what would you say, contenders for the worldview championship. And therefore one has to be very careful about such associations. So that's the immediate answer, I think, to your question. The other is, you said, as science becomes more and more sophisticated, or, as it advances more and more, it becomes more and more persuasive. And in fact, the book that I was reading, and I've forgotten the author, and I sort of haven't, I got onto other things and put the book aside. But the author is a mainline scientist, and quite a prominent one, if I remember. And essentially his case was that the opposite is true. That if you go back like to Darwin's time and so on, the arguments that they had for their materialistic worldview seemed more persuasive. But as our knowledge has advanced, they've in fact become less persuasive. And Darwinian evolution, I think, is no, not Darwin's Black Box. I could find the name for you, but anyway, it was a more sophisticated book than Darwin's Black Box. I think it wasn't from a creationist. It was from somebody at Oxford, if I remember. And in Darwin's time, things that made sense no longer make sense. Or rather, the things that made sense in Darwin's time no longer make sense. An example is the idea of intermediate species, and one species evolves into the next and the next and the next. And Stephen Jay Gould, who's a mainstream scientist and not a Hare Krishna or a creationist, comes along and says, no, that's not what the fossil record says. If you look at the fossil record, you don't find all this, gradual development of different species diversifying out into other species. What you see in the fossil record is the apparently spontaneous appearance, fully formed, of different species without an interconnecting link, without evidence of development from one to another. So he came up with a different theory, punctuated equilibrium, trying to sort of preserve ideas of evolution, while at the same time accommodating the fact that the older Darwinian picture didn't fit the facts. So it's a simple example of how advances in science have really made some things that seemed simple and seemed sensible no longer seem so easy. I gave the example of the complexity of the cell. That's another one. And this professor really gave a good good arguments on this point, that you really can't, that science is doing the opposite of what they say. It's not making the case for atheism stronger. It's making the case for atheism weaker. Hold on, see if that book has come to the fore here. Let's see. Again, I didn't. I don't think I see a book that's come up, and I think that's it. No. Okay, but anyway, that was the point, that he's argued quite well that science has made, and he's argued from many different fields, biochemistry and physics and so on, that whatever field you go into, you find the same thing happening, that their simplistic explanations become increasingly less believable. And no, it's not devil's delusion, it's something else. But you don't want me to sit here and look for them. And besides, it's 8:59 and we should stop. If I find it before we complete our announcements, I'll post it for you. Thank you, Leela Karprabhu. Thank you all, devotees. And we're handing things back to our fortunate survivor of scientific propaganda, Madan Gopal Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for your continued mercy. I pray that I remain in this assembly of intelligence and not slip back into the assembly of those who have descended from monkeys. So let me just share my screen. So tomorrow is Thursday, and Thursday we have our ISKCON with Maharaj here, not on this channel, but it's on his channel. You can find it on jayswami.info. So we're going to continue on the topic, what are the 4 rules, in case we've forgotten. So it's a good reminder, and it's a good discussion actually. So please join for tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on this Sangha, on the Sangha link on Maharaj's website, jayswami.info. And then right after that, we have our own, at 8 o'clock, we'll have the next session on this channel. So Pathways to Perfection will continue this Saturday with Sakyam by His Holiness Bhakti-Rasamrita Swami Maharaj. And then on the 14th will be Atma Nivedanam by Sachinanda Swami. And this is on the Bhakti Center's Zoom channel. So please be sure to join on Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. we have Her Grace Sheetala Devidasi. She is going to be speaking on Narottam Das Thakur's life, and she's also written a wonderful book. She's an author on his biography. Very nice, very well written book. So please be sure to join. It's a real treat. And then on Sunday evening we have His Grace Venkata Bhatt Prabhu on our channel once again. So please be sure to join for that. And of course, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have this continued discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much.
I've got that book for you. Probably you'd rather read Srimad Bhagavatam, but for those who are scientifically minded and looking for this sort of thing, I've put it in the chat box.
Modern Physics and Ancient Faith, Stephen M. Barr.
University of Notre Dame Press.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I find these discussions very compelling because, even though we're practicing Krishna consciousness, but when we read these things, especially those who are inclined, it really strengthens us. And when we have an intelligent conversation with somebody on the street, it really impresses some people. I find, and strengthens our faith when we can talk intelligently in their language. It really, I feel it moves people's hearts. So thank you for sharing. And those of you who are into this, please do take a look at the Atma paradigm. It's really well done. Kandadeep Prabhu has been doing this for years, and he really puts it very nicely. So the YouTube link that we've shared, please go take a look at that. I think you will appreciate it. And it's just a video. You can watch it in your spare time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. You may unmute yourselves, dear devotees, and you can wish Maharaj good night.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandvat, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. Please accept my obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna
Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Radhe Radhe, Dandvat.
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Raj. Pranam.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Govinda ki jai.
Namaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Madhava ki jai. Punctuated Chapter ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Hari Bol.